Welcome back to the Hard Way Podcast here on the JohnHarder.com. And at this time, alongside me is a man who's been around this wrestling business for a long time, from the 70s onwards to now. He's still going, Mr. JL Chico. Chico, what's going on, sir?
Thank you for having me aboard, brother.
Absolutely. You know, we were here sitting before ACE Anarchy in Wallington, and I have to say this, you've been around the sport since the 70s, and there's such a wealth of history and such knowledge you have about the sport, not only of the New York independent scene itself, but the New York Commission, and also Puerto Rican wrestling as well. First things first, we were just talking about it before we actually came on here. You actually showed me a picture from the old school Lucha Libre days, Ringside 41. Can you tell us about it a little bit?
Well, Ringside 41, Lucha Libre, was one of the first Hispanic shows that we had here in the state of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. And it was run by Ringside 41, Channel 41. And, of course, there was guys like Tigre Filipino, Wildman Zebra, Toro Maldonado, who was the promoter at that time. And I tell you, it was a good run because for 3 years we were running our ratings were on in 3 years. And we were making competition with the WWE, which was back then the WWF.
Now, was that based off, I'm guessing, the New York ratings, how New York was being rated? I'm guessing around that tri-state area, everything was being rated. And, Ringside 41 was obviously rising up against the... Was it Vincent J McMahon, or was it Vince McMahon now?
No, actually it was Old Man Vince.
Okay.
And Gorilla Monsoon. What was good about it back then, that Gorilla Monsoon and Old Vince decided to work with us. They used to send us his wrestlers, and we used to send them ours.
Now, who were some of the guys that you guys sent over to?
We had guys like Mr. Billy Shane. We had guys like Philippine Tiger, Wildman Zebra. A guy right now who you know was one of the El Conquistadors, Jose Luis Rivera.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Guys like Jose Estrada.
Really?
Guys like Frank Williams, Johnny Rivera.
So all these guys all became integrated with your product, but as well, they were probably working the Garden in Sunnyside Gardens, right?
Exactly. They were working with our company, Ringside 41, but then they got a chance into going into the WWF.
I mean, one thing I'm actually intrigued on, we're talking about Ringside 41 for a couple quick moments. I do have to ask, knowing that you actually were on the same side as Mr. McMahon, in the 70s and whatnot. Now, what would happen if, let's say you guys weren't in the 70s? Would they try to put you guys out? Would they, were there any other companies that tried to go against the McMahons and failed miserably and stuff like that?
Well, Vince McMahon, the old man, he was fair. This guy, he was fair. This guy will give anybody an opportunity. The only difference with the old WWE, which is the WWF, the old WWF, guys are really blessed these days. Guys like Rey Mysterio, guys like all these guys, CM Punk, these guys are really blessed because back then, a guy like Jose Estrada, which was a big guy, Johnny Ross, etc., etc. These guys, you went in the ring, and these guys were monsters, back then. These guys were guys over 300 pounds, 7 foot tall. You couldn't touch these guys back then. You went in the ring, you got squashed by these guys. Today, thanks to guys like the Philippine Tiger, thanks to guys like Toro Maldonado, and Luis Rios, he was the old commissioner. Thanks to Mr. Rios, I like to send Mr. Rios family a shout out because Mr. Luis Rios was the commissioner who talked to the commissioner's office in New York City for us small guys to get licensed.
Now, we were talking about this before we actually came on the air with this. Now, you were saying how a lot of the guys back in the day, if you were under 200 pounds, you actually weren't able to get a license. Why was that?
Because back then, Vince loved these big guys. And they didn't want to give the small guys a break in the world of professional wrestling. And so in order